Singleton farmers Bruce and Eric Moxie are flat strap making hay while the sun is still shining. The Singleton district has had 140 millimetres of rain, or double the average this month. All districts in the Hunter have now been taken off the drought list, and the remainder of the state, only 15% is still in trouble, compared with 72% 3 months ago. While there's been too much rain for wheat growers, local beef and dairy farmers are overjoyed.
Just about ideal. Good growing season. We've had nice rain the last 2 or 3 weeks. Nice warm weather since.
It's been a tough year with the drought forcing many producers into debt, some with no choice but to quit the land. But there has been some good news from the drought. After 10 months of next to no rain and little pasture growth, the soil has been rejuvenated. And so with perfect weather in this last month, the grasses have thrived.
Particularly earlier in this month, we weren't having much hot weather, and it was almost like a late spring, so that's why we had such a quick growth period at this stage.
Hay producers now want the rain to hold off. They've got hundreds of bales to get into the shed. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
It was a perfect day for a relaxing 18 holes at Gosford, but next week there'll be no socialising on the fairways. That's when more than 70 pros will try to tame the course, battling for a record $20,000 purse. Club officials are confident the list of competitors will draw the crowds.
We've got Anthony Painter, last year's winner, who shot a course record of 66. We've got George Serhan playing. We've got E-Cobb, he's playing. Actually, we have a capacity field of 70 pros.
The main event is over 36 holes on Tuesday and Wednesday, while a special Seniors Pro-Am will be staged on Monday. And organisers say the course record 66, shot by last year's winner Anthony Painter, can be challenged.
The course is in good enough condition. It will now rely on the capabilities of the golfers to break his course record.
A nearby resident raised the alarm just after 3:30 this morning. 3 fire units rushed to the 2-storey brick building on the New England Highway. It's believed the blaze started in the back laundry. Quick action stopped it from spreading. Police are trying to locate the owner. They say the property has been unoccupied for some time and is in the process of being sold. Police say there's no doubt arsonists were involved. The incident follows another suspicious fire in the small township only a week ago. Just a short distance away, fire units fought a blaze at a supermarket early last Monday. The 3-bedroom residence attached at the rear was severely damaged. The property was also on the market. The crime scene unit is treating the circumstances of both fires as suspicious. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
It's a face well known to the Newcastle Breakers, and a face they won't forget. His name is Clint Gosling, and he was the man who was single-handedly responsible for preventing the Breakers' victory on Friday night. So why are we speaking to him? Well, the answer to that one is simple. He lives right here in Newcastle. That's right, Gosling did this, and this to the Breakers in front of what you could call his home crowd. Although he was born in New Zealand and wears the colours of Sydney Olympic, his home and heart have been in Newcastle for the past 12 years.
I like playing for Sydney Olympic, but the travelling does get you down, and the facilities and the club Newcastle have got now are fantastic. So yeah, I wouldn't mind playing for the Breakers actually.
The irony of playing against friends in front of such a parochial Newcastle crowd is not lost on Gosling, but it's a challenge he thrives on.
Well, it makes you want to play that little bit better. Point to prove to some supporters. So you just pull all the stops out, or try to.
They're not as famous as the Mercer brothers, but the Reeves duo is set to make just as big an impact on the Ironman world after today's effort. The Nutrigrain competitors had a two-way battle in the Ironman event, David Reeves leading from the front. Scott lent some encouragement as brother David took a breather, but it was David who finished on top. As the swell picked up, so did the action, with the boats taking centre stage. Maxville Scott's Head felt the pinch of the tricky conditions, losing a crew member on its way into the beach. Corindi Red Rock took out the open boat race, Woolgoolga claimed the reserve boat section. The overall point score went to Coffs Harbour, Woolgoolga was second and Sawtell third.
Even a cemetery has a fixed life. Established in 1880, Sandgate is running out of space. Around 52,000 grave sites have been used, with 400 people buried here each year. One study rates the area will be full in 30 years. And so a new report has been commissioned to work out a detailed management plan for the future. Over the next few months, a team of experts will study cultural, social, architectural and practical aspects of keeping a cemetery alive. One plan is to establish a lawn cemetery, as well as removing a rail spur which could provide an extra 1,200 grave sites. The Cemetery Trust has called for any comments or ideas from the public on what should be done. Peter Ryan, NBN News. "68 workers collected their notices today, but it was with mixed emotions. A meeting with the miners' union and a third party formulated a last-minute survival plan.
We've spoken to a gentleman who's interested in going into a company, a 50% arrangement, and we think it's got a lot of prospects, and it's a goer.
The proposal, 50 workers to put in $2,000 each, matching $100,000 from the unnamed party to lease the mine from Pacific Power. The workers have fought a bitter battle to keep the mine operating. A group of miners went underground for days calling for an investigation. The proposal will be presented to Pacific Power tomorrow, with the union confident of a good result.
They would find it hard politically to knock it back, because it is in effect going to keep people, something like 50 people, in work in mining a resource which is the property of New South Wales.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
They are the country region's top cricketing talent, and for the next 10 days they'll be displaying their skills in Newcastle. Teams from the ACT, Western Australia, South Australia, Queensland and Victoria will battle New South Wales for the title and the chance to play against the West Indies. In the first matches today, the Blues took on South Australia at Cardiff No. 1 Oval. Grey skies threatened play, but it was Newcastle player Tony Fort who threatened the most. This six was just one of many Fort smashed on his way to 179 not out. Promising youngster Anthony Daly also starred, smashing 63 in his first championship match. The Blues declared at 5 for 349. At Carl Oval, the ACT struggled against the Victorian bowling attack, spearheaded by fast bowler Dean Benson. ACT all out for 184. In the other match, Queensland is up against WA. A special country team will be selected to play the Windies on January 13th. Matthew White, NBN News.
It will be on the road for 5 months. Newcastle was the latest to see some of the horsepower behind the big race. The Indy car, capable of topping 300 kilometres per hour, but also on show the pace car and the Indy's emergency rescue truck. The display leaves for Maitland on Thursday, moving on then to Taree, Port Macquarie and up the north coast. Still on motoring, and the Americans are riding high after the first super sedan test against the Aussies, and they say they're ready to do it again at the Newcastle Motordrome tomorrow night. But the Australians aren't so sure. Two new drivers, New South Wales champ Lismore driver Granville Anderson and Bob Brewer, have joined the team, ready for some quick times. Pundits say it could go either way. Ken Rosewell and Tony Roach come from an era where gentlemen played tennis and the umpire's ruling was always right. But if the games with the legends last year are any guide, there may be a little horsing around when some of Australia's greatest players get on the court. The Roach Resort Tennis Classic hits off at Salamander tomorrow with youngbloods Donor, Johnson, Anderson and Norman playing round-robin singles. Roach, Rosewell, Newcombe and Lewis also giving their best. Live action on NBN starts at 1 p.m. on Thursday. It was precious sailing at Port Stephens, with the nation's top competitors pushing for a spot at the World Champs in Sweden in August. In the 420 Olympic class, New South Wales user-friendly again took the initiative, sailing into a weak sou'easter. Muir's 420 and Dry Reach hassling it out with the 64 boats in the water. It's been 6 days of qualifying heats before the final, each skipper playing a game of tactics. In the larger 470 class, the boats took to the spinnaker, each sailor milking the slight breeze. After a hard week of competition, there will be plenty of celebrations tonight. New South Wales yesterday hit the country Crow-Eaters for 6, and the South Australians struggled this morning as well, only managing 103 against the 349 needed. Instead of sending South Australia back in, New South Wales declared it 0 for 0, giving the opposition a chance to grab the 247 runs needed in just 67 overs. And the South Australians had a go, but despite some attacking play, finished up at 5 for 193. Not enough runs, New South Wales country grabbing a first innings win. The best player for the Blues, Anthony Stewart, snaring 6 for 31. At Carl Oval, Victoria grabbed a first innings win over ACT. The country championships continue tomorrow.
Since 1986, EnviroSciences has been helping answer the public's questions about the environmental costs of economic development. The company has prepared environmental impact statements for organisations on Kooragang Island and Hunter Valley coal mines. Now, EnviroSciences has won a $500,000 contract to provide environmental monitoring at the Dalrymple coal terminal in Queensland.
It's setting up a major air and noise monitoring network in the Dalrymple port area for the coal loader up there.
The company has also secured an $800,000 contract to contribute to a residential project in Western Sydney.
We're looking at the environmental management plans, the monitoring of the operation, and generally ensuring that the major contract keeps within the regulations laid down.
Mr O'Brien believes after all the environment versus economy debates over development in Australia, a right balance between the two has now been struck.
The legislation which is in place does give both sides, or all sides, the opportunity to put in their ideas and for the issues to be addressed. So I think it's a pretty well balanced, and I don't think it's harshly uneconomic, the requirement to do impact studies.
With vital points in the Tooheys Blue Surfboat Premiership on offer, it was ideal conditions for the boaties. The Caves Beach crew made the most of the small swell. Caves finished second in the Open division, behind Ocean Beach. Hosts Cooks Hill claimed third. Swansea Belmont took out the reserves and also won the under-18s. At Catherine Hill Bay it was clear skies but small surf for the first day of the Catho Classic. Justin Lee, Andy Brinkworth and Lee Dean took to the water in the Opens today. Tomorrow, defending champ Matt Wells will battle Kev Slattery and Daniel Frodsham.
Two days of scouring the Clarence River by police and emergency personnel had proved fruitless until this morning. The body of 18-year-old Paul David Donnelly was found by a property owner 2.5 kilometres from where the young soldier had disappeared on Thursday. It's believed Paul, who was from the Enoggera Army base in Brisbane, was riding the rapids on inflatable tubes with friends when he was sucked under by the current. Desperate attempts by the friends to rescue Paul failed. Paul is the son of Glen Innes's mayor, David Donnelly. The mayor and his wife formally identified the body this morning. Paul has been described as being an active member of the Glen Innes community.
The whole town feels this loss terribly sadly, I'm quite sure. I think that the whole town is behind the Donnellys and they're supporting them.
The West Indies team was welcomed to the region by one of their old destroyers, Lake Macquarie's Dutchy Holland. A record cricket crowd of 7,000 fans poured into Carl Oval and the Windies went into bat on a flat track. Opener Desmond Haynes let the willow fly, hitting the ball out of the park. Phil Simmons was the first to go, caught by Spanner off Stewart. Haynes' luck ran out soon after, caught behind for 46. Logie was bowled for 19. Jimmy Adams was caught in a good catch by country skipper Mark Curry. Windies skipper Richie Richardson wasn't there, but his fans were. The visitors went for their shots, Keith Atherton hitting 94 off 96 balls. Bowled out by Benson.
A bit of fun. It's a country game, you know. You know, when you get down to the international games, you know, you have to be very serious, you know. It's nice when you can have some fun, yeah, it's all right.
Australian country needed 294 runs off 50 overs. It was tough at first. They were 3 for 30 after 10. But along came big-hitting Queenslander Brad Spanner. Spanner followed Haynes' lead, going over the top, finishing with a brisk 68. The Windies were clearly trying out some different options, playing mainly spin. Even wicket-keeper Williams had a bowl. Mark Curry was delighted. ACT all-rounder Greg Irvine hit consecutive 4s and a 6, but it was not enough. Australian country falling 51 runs short. The Windies and local cricket fans, the winners. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
For almost 18 months, those fighting for the reopening of Wallsend Hospital have refused to let anyone cross the picket line if it meant their goal could be damaged. But today, refusing turned to relenting when the picketers were addressed by Building Trades Group representative Phil Darby. 14 of Mr Darby's members have been instructed by the Hunter Area Health Service to help convert the hospital's amenities block into an accommodation and resource centre for community groups. While the unions have supported the picket, Mr Darby asked the ban on the building be lifted to save the workers' jobs. In a vote of 25 to 10, the picketers agreed.
It probably will cause a lot of concern to a lot of people, but there'd be 14 men lose their jobs and they would probably send in non-unionist labour, maybe, and then they'd still do the job.
Some picketers were unhappy with the decision, fearing it will lead to the lifting of bans on the entire hospital site.
We believe the trade union is being moved to move in to break their own picket, and we believe that I believe that's not the role of the union movement. I believe that the union movement should be making a strong stand against privatisation of public hospitals.
The Health Services Chief Executive Officer, Dr Tim Smythe, says work on the block will begin in about 10 days' time. Scott Bevan, NBN News. For more than 500 people in the Hunter last year, attempting suicide ended not in death, but admission to hospital.
We've certainly noticed an increase, Scott, over the last 4 or 5 years, a steady increase, but certainly in the last 2 years there's been quite a dramatic increase. In 1991 we had 358 self-poisonings presenting to our service, and in 1992 we had 517 self-poisonings.
The doctors aren't prepared to say what's caused that jump in suicide attempts until more research is done. But with the Hunters' unemployment rate at 15.8%, they believe the effects of being jobless should be further investigated.
We can't say if it's a contributing factor, but obviously the increase in unemployment is one of the factors that worries us and one of the factors that we think would be a very fertile area for further investigation.
Aid agency Lifeline says unemployment is also increasingly becoming the reason behind the 15,500 calls it receives each year from people in distress.
Well, lately we think that it's close on to 25% of calls in which unemployment plays a part. That also accounts for a lot of the very heavy demand on our financial counselling service.
Scott Bevan, NBN News. Behind these dark glasses hides a man who has ear-bashed the people of Coffs Harbour since 6 o'clock on Monday morning. Locked in a small radio booth with only a life-size plastic reindeer and a rubber chook for company, Matthew Prater has broken the Australian record for continuous radio broadcasting by 2 hours. The record was previously held by fellow 2CHY DJ Greg White. Shoppers in the Palm Centre and a steady stream of friends have helped the HSC graduate through his hours of solitude. Towards the end of his time, the need for sleep and a surf became obvious. And then
twilight normally means sign-off time for lifeguards, but at Terrigal Beach, the Central Coast Guards were just warming up. It was a demanding course for the 12th annual challenge between Wyong Council Guards and their counterparts at Gosford Council. Held over 4 races, Gosford had the upper hand after race 1. Before a good crowd, the defending champions held on to their lead to win the overall point score 385 to 300. And at Newcastle Beach, the regional final of the AMP Surf Rescue Challenge. Clubs are pitted against each other in a test of surf life-saving skills. They were vying for a spot in the grand final to be held in Sydney next month. After losing matches against Northern New South Wales and the Breakers, the Malaysians hit top form against the Coffs Select team. The visitors were white hot and wasted no time in getting points on the board. Coffs failed to capitalise on their chances. Malaysia scored 2 goals within the first 15 minutes and added another to lead 3-0 at the break. The lights came on in the second stanza and Malaysia continued the attack. The final score, Malaysia 9, Coffs 0. The annual carnival attracted a massive 680 entrants. That was down 200 on last year because of the country swimming championships being held in Newcastle. 7 clubs from Maxville to Foster took part in the carnival, which was blessed with perfect outdoor weather. Organisers had a busy day. 89 events were on the schedule. The battle for the overall club point score was fought between Wingham and Maxville. The individual honours went to Daniel Watts, who won the Open 100 metres freestyle in 1 minute 4 seconds, and Amanda Hardacre, who took out the female 100 metres free in 1 minute 14. At Port Macquarie, a tough struggle for rowers in the New South Wales point score event on the Hastings River. 20 clubs gathered for 48 events held in howling northeasterly winds. The ladies' quad scull taken out by North Shore.
Since amalgamation 3 years ago, the University of Newcastle has undergone major changes both inside and out to cope with its 14,500 students. Over the next 3 years, 16 projects will be underway at a cost of more than $40 million. Many factors have led to the sudden spurt in development.
Post-amalgamation and the strength of the university as a whole, we've been quite successful with our funding federally, and I think that's reflected by a strong administration team and the strength of the university as a whole.
Staff architect Rick DeCavlo says the pace of building is unprecedented at Newcastle Uni. One of the biggest projects is this $13 million Advanced Technology Centre, a joint venture between the Uni and Pacific Power. The building will house both Uni and Pacific Power staff to foster research and technology in power generation. The Department of Employment and Training has funded a $4.5 million centre for advanced learning and teaching, as well as a $3.3 million design building and a proposed $5.5 million general purpose complex. It's expected most of the work will go to local contractors, boosting employment with added benefits.
Initially, the students will benefit in the increased facilities and the better buildings that are available. The university benefits overall in the breadth and depth of the courses that we're able to offer. The Newcastle region is the beneficiary in having a better educational facility.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.